Celcius, I like the vibes.
Always the tropical vibes.
Tropical
Actually,
vibes.
Peach Vibes is my favorite.
Oh, dude.
Peach Vibes is the best.
Once I had peach vibe, because we used to get the watermelon, whatever, like there's like a 3-pack. You get it.
There's like a
Costco.
million of them now.
I know.
It's crazy.
Oh, really? I've had 6 of them. I need to.
I think
up
we have
my
like
Celsius
10 in the fridge over there right now.
10 different flavors?
We should try all 10 of them right now. Shotgun them.
That would be, we would need something from Celcius first. We would need some sort of
Well, we would
sponsor.
need a lot of
We would need a lot of help.
after.
So sometimes I look at these and I'm like, what is in this? How much caffeine is in this? But
150 milligrams.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where does it say that? Contains 200 total caffeine. I just now
Never
seen
mind.
that.
There's 200 in there.
Well, because it said there was 1.81 proprietary blend as whatever. I'm like, I didn't know what that is.
Yeah,
So
I
200.
always never really trust proprietary blends.
And how much is in a cup of coffee?
Depends on the cup of coffee.
Okay, how much is in
But
a home brewed?
A like regular, what I usually tell people is anywhere you go, just kind of guesstimate 150 milligrams for a cup of coffee.
For a cup of coffee.
So these little pocket rockets are usually like 200.
And then, so it's a cup of coffee-ish.
About a cup of coffee, but
Strong-ish
it's
cup of
like,
coffee.
I don't know, I always feel like synthetic caffeine pops you a little bit harder than regular. So you just you just gotta watch out for it.
Yeah.
Just gotta watch out for it. Make sure you're hydrated before you drink one of these things.
Yeah. I'm a member here at this gym.
You are.
I love it. I love the place.
Welcome to Yellow Rose.
There are very few times where you go to the first place that you try and you're like, this is awesome, especially with knowing. Like if I didn't know, like the first therapist I went to,
Right.
I was like, I love this. This is the way it's always going to be. But I didn't know anything else.
Right.
I came to the gym. I knew a lot.
Well, yeah,
I used to be a gym owner.
You used to own a gym.
I used to own a gym, and I came here. and I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Home run.
Home run.
on the first shot.
Well, I think the funniest part too is whenever you came in, we didn't know that you were a gym owner. And so we
secretive.
So Lucy like took you through the whole sales process,
I was like,
through
cool.
the whole everything, and we converted.
I'm glad I looked like a regular human and
You're
not
just I don't know how to
super
tell you
mid.
this. You're very average.
Thank you so much.
Very
I
average.
feel very average in my body right now, lifting. So when people go through that process, what, like, broadly speaking, what do people come here for?
Yeah, so I think most people come here because they're looking for a solution to their problem. And their problem is they don't feel their best. And what we're trying to do is help people feel their best, or at least feel better. And I think that's what, our marketing and our messaging puts out a lot is like, we're not here to train elite athletes. We're not here to get you to elite levels of fitness. We're not here to have you win competitions. We're literally here for the everyday mom and dad, business owner, entrepreneur, doctor, lawyer, shift worker, teacher. We're here for everyone who just wants to feel better and who wants to get safe and effective programming from professional quality coaches.
You said that they want a solution to their problem. What's the problem look like? If I'm spying in their house, you know what I mean? I love imagery. I love how vivid we can get. What does that look like for someone who's struggling? You're like, man, they could use our help. What are you seeing?
Totally. I think a lot of people, like, the actual problem that they have is like themselves, like trying to get out of their own way.
For sure.
Like trying to get out of their own way. Like, I'm the perfect example of this. I will sit in that office over there all day long and be like, oh, just didn't have time to get to the gym today.
Same.
Like, I'm in the gym. I'm 20 feet from a dumbbell, but I tell myself that I don't have time to work out. And so that's really like, we're helping them with accountability.
Okay.
We're helping them with structure. We're taking some of the mental pressure and the mental bandwidth away from them from working out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I own multiple gyms. I have Yellow Rose Fitness and Local Co Fitness. And
right.
I mean, we, with my wife, Rachel, and my other partner, Mark and Girish, and we own these gyms to help people in all their problems. And really, like, we're all the same. Like, we started these gyms just because we needed our own help for these problems. Right. And like, getting out of our own way is probably one of the biggest problems that we all as humans need to address.
Getting out of your own way. And a lot of people, when they think of a gym, they see that as a solution to, either get more cardiovascular fit, for weight loss, for muscle, whatever, to get strong. You see this as like more than that, because it like that's all there already. Like every gym's gonna have that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you address like getting them out of their way? What do you provide to help them with that?
Well, you know, like every gym is pretty much the same, right? Like there's different types of gyms. Sure, there's access gyms, there's coaching gyms, there's studio gyms, there's big public box gyms. There's all sorts of different gyms. But at the end of the day, like we're all trying to do the same thing for people, and that is to get them more physically fit.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to the individual's definition of like, what is physical fitness for me? Like what is necessary for me? Like for me right now, my physical fitness is I want to wake up feeling good. I want to have energy at the end of the day to play with my girls because they require a lot of energy. And I want to be able to do anything and not have my body say, no, we can't do that.
When I started in fitness, it was purely, it was kind of luck. Like I didn't really have a reason to get started. I wasn't like overweight. I didn't really have a really good reason other than when I finally started, I just luckily found a great community of people, and that's a big, powerful thing, right?
Oh yeah. Like the community is probably one of the biggest accountability factors for people.
100%.
I mean, if you end up coming to we have people that bounce around to different classes, but the majority of our members are at the same class time or whatever. And you develop in that 50-ish minutes, sometimes an hour, you develop strong bonds with people because there is a benefit in suffering together and in going through pain together. I mean, the workout that we did today with all those goblet squats and double unders, that was a pretty good thrashing.
That was a long buster,
and it was really nice to not have to do that by myself.
It is great to see the same smiling faces over and over again. That's a big accountability for
100%.
me. How do you view the other gym, like Local Cove, where you put your earbuds in, your AirPods in, and you just go by yourself, and it's like tunnel vision, don't worry about anybody else. I don't even care who's there, and you just do your own thing. Like, what's the difference there?
It is really funny because like Yellow Rose is all about coaching and community, and Local Cove is very much like, we don't want a community. Don't talk to anyone. Right. We have like written across the door, like headphones on, focus.
Right.
Don't talk
Complete
to
opposite,
anyone. Just do your thing and go. And that gym is really, really good and beneficial for the people who are on specific time constraints, who can't make group classes. And also there is this element where like some people don't want community and some people don't want to do barbell or kettlebell based strength and conditioning. Some people just want a really clean gym that's really convenient to the neighborhood where they can go in and do their classic bodybuilding stuff, or they have an online coach and they just need someone who can or they need a place to work out. And that's really what Local Cove is. We designed Local Cove as a premium 24/7 experience that you could do whenever you wanted to. And we try to like make it seem like, hey, it's your home gym 5 minutes from your house.
I love that. It's two different styles of working out. It's two different methodologies. It could be two different people.
It's almost like it's two different gyms, Mark.
It's two different gyms. That's mind-blowing. But like as I started off, like I didn't have a reason. Then I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting really strong. This is pretty cool. Then I was like, then there was like a death in the family at that time. And then I was like, I remember that day, and I had a really, like a lot of tears that day. And I went to the gym later that day and I was like, I feel so much better.
Right.
And that, I don't know if that became the reason, but it got tucked in the files of my brain that I was like, hey, this can be beneficial during the hard times.
Oh man.
Right.
Yeah. Like it's so nuts. It is like going to the dentist for me to work out.
Right.
And a lot of people are surprised to hear that.
Same.
But like, dude, I hate working out.
I do too. Yeah.
It is so annoying to me. Like I would rather work on stuff, or I would rather sit on the couch and hang out, rather play my PlayStation. Like I would rather be playing golf. Right. I would rather be doing anything other than working out. The physical act of working out is the worst for me. Yeah. Which like sounds so silly because I do fitness for a living.
Correct.
But I know that like I always feel better Not only in the immediate term, but in the long term, I always operate better. I always have more mental clarity. I always sleep better. I always make better food decisions. I always do. Like, it is this cascading positivity. It's like an avalanche or like a snowball of like good things that happen in my life if I'm just working out like 3 or 4 times a week.
Do you have to tell yourself that every time?
Yes,
Is
freaking time.
Is that like you're in the moment, you're like, I really don't want to work out, or like I'm not feeling it? What do you say to yourself in those, or do you just like, I just got to get it done, or what? Like,
I remind myself that it's a lot like eating my vegetables.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do it. I don't
really
particularly love
yeah.
vegetables,
Right.
but I know that it's good for me and it's going to make me feel better. Yeah. Same thing here with my fitness. I mean, the amount of times, Rachel, it's so funny. Rachel, my lovely wife, she like pulls me into working out a lot because she's like, I don't want to deal with you if you're not working out.
Yeah.
And I just always operate as a better human.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm working out consistently. And I pick up on my red flag behaviors, like whenever I'm getting really stressed out easily, or if I'm getting really, really short with people very easily, it's like, hey, when's the last time you worked out, dude? And reframing what an actual quote unquote workout for me,
I love that,
has been really, really important in my journey in this. I mean, I started working out whenever I was 14 years old, and I was mopping gyms at an Anytime Fitness in exchange for a membership. And, you know, it's changed a lot since then for me. And I used to, I'm going to go compete in events. I'm going to do all the things. And I did those things too. Never got to a high level because I'm very average.
Right.
But nowadays, as my life has shifted, this season of life that I'm in now of being a business owner, being a dad, being a husband, being a leader to others, is like, I need to work out so that way I perform my best in life.
Love that.
And that's what I remind myself.
I always heard that a lot, but it never really made sense to me. And it's almost like things had to happen to me to be able to explain what perform better means in life. And I was like, okay, I perform better like physical, whatever. Right? Like, put that aside. People say, hey, you work out to perform better. Is it like perform better at work? I was like, okay, cool. Is it perform better as a husband, as a father? I was like, okay, I still don't understand that. But then it's almost like when I did stop working out for a little bit, I went through a lull where I maybe worked out a few times a month, maybe a couple. It was very apparent.
There's like a life fog that just sort of happens, and you don't even really realize it, but you're in this sort of like hazy space with your life.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I not creative enough? Or why am I not super productive? Or why do I not feel the energy to do anything?
Right.
And like, I think that's what's really sad about what a lot of people go through, is a lot of people don't even realize like they don't feel good. They have no idea what feeling good actually is. No,
and I noticed that as in my work. I thought people start going to more caffeine. They think they have ADHD. They start to do all these other things that or like medicine and stuff like that. Sure. And I was like, wait a minute.
And there's a place. There's a place for medicine.
There's definitely a place
and everything.
Not to condemn those. Listen, I drink caffeine.
Don't get mad at us. This has 200 milligrams of caffeine right now.
Lots of coffee is where I live. I went through the whole caffeine and melatonin cycle of like try to get to sleep and try to stay awake at the same time.
But the big problem for a lot of people is they lace themselves with caffeine all day long, and then they turn to booze in the evening time to get themselves to sleep. And then because they've been turning to booze, they don't sleep very well, and so then the next day they have to inject themselves with even more caffeine, and then it's just like the most vicious cycle ever.
I was in Denver 2 nights ago and slept terribly, knowing I had a flight in the morning. It's just nightly stress.
Sure.
I don't know if do you have an Oura ring? I have an Oura.
I don't, but I wear the Garmin, and it tells me like I know whenever I sleep like crap.
I'm big. I used to not be big on wearables, but now that you track your stats and you almost kind of like gamify it with yourself, it's pretty cool. But I had like a 67 readiness, which is awful, and a 68 on sleep that night. And I was like, okay. Last night, dude, I feel great. 91 and 92. Woo! Yeah. I feel great.
Because you weren't doing whatever you did in Denver.
Hey, I went to like the Nuggets game.
Whatever you were doing.
Whatever you were doing. Let's cut, edit right here.
And scene.
But it's those kinds of like intangibles that a lot of people forget about, like sleep, stress, those kinds of things. In what way, is there a place at this gym? I know you guys do nutrition.
We do.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but like how do you guys like preach like the intangibles like that?
Yeah, so I mean, what we do at Yellow Rose, we do group fitness, we do personal training, we do nutrition coaching.
Love that.
Those are our 3 pillars that we do, because like group fitness works amazing for so many people, but some people like they just don't like group fitness, or group fitness is going to work for them. So that's where we have personal training, and we do nutrition coaching, and we don't think you should be, super, dieting, whatever, if you're listening to this, I'm air quoting so hard right now, dieting as far as like your nutrition goes, but we do want to create an awareness around nutrition, because while, you can work out really, really hard all the time, and sure, you can outwork a bad diet, but having just a little bit of effort into your diet is going to make you feel a ton better.
Right.
And so we try to preach this sort of holistic yet realistic approach to your lifestyle.
Right.
And I like to put the realistic approach aspect to it, mainly because there is so much. Can I cuss on here?
You can cuss. We have explicit tags on here.
Oh, okay, good. There's so much freaking noise. That wasn't a cuss word, but I'm just censoring myself. There's so much noise and fear mongering and just garbage in the fitness industry that people are consuming all the time.
What are some of those things? What are they saying?
I mean, people that are out there saying that like cooking oils are killing you.
Right.
Like the carnivore MD guy, whatever his name is, Dr. Paul, whatever.
Yeah.
Screw you, Dr. Paul, you're trash. He's going to like cancer centers and saying like, oh, you're feeding these cancer patients like chicken nuggets. How dare you? You're making it worse. And it's like, dude, they're on chemotherapy. Let them eat chicken nuggets.
Yes.
It's fine. That's why we have modern medicine.
Exactly.
There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people that are out there saying that aspartame and diet sodas is going to kill you, but they don't realize that you need to drink like 200 plus sodas a day for it to have any sort of negative benefit on you.
Whereas the other people are drinking like regular Cokes,
which is they're drinking like 6 regular Cokes a day, and they're that's 1,500 plus calories in their day just from liquids. And it's like there's a lot of unrealistic fear mongering and noise out there that just like truly pisses me off.
Yeah.
It's just so annoying, because then as a person who's not in the fitness industry, you're looking for information, then you go on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook and you see people saying all these things that are just like so confusing. I mean, you can literally, I'm getting so fired up right now. You can literally find some study where they pull random information without context and say like XYZ is bad for you.
Right.
I mean, there's people out there literally telling people that they shouldn't be drinking water.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry, what? And then there's people out there like the carnivore guy saying plants are trying to kill you. Wait, so you serious right now? Saying that eating broccoli is bad for you?
Right.
Oh, and meat's bad for you, and fish is bad for you, and rice is bad for you, and like everything is quote unquote bad for you. So what we try to do is sift through the noise, tell people and show people a realistic approach to fitness, to where you're going to feel your best.
Right.
And feeling, while also realizing that there are real life compromises that need to be made. And sometimes you are going to compromise your life, or you're going to compromise your health optimization, so that way you can replenish and renourish your soul.
Right.
I mean, like, I went on a golf trip with my buddies in December where I think my sleep rating was like a 12 out of 100, because it was a golf trip with my buddies.
Yeah.
Right?
There's beer, there's
were
like
boozing,
late nights.
we were late nights, there's a lot of activity,
exactly.
but like I left that trip physically feeling like trash.
Right.
Like, but feeling so fulfilled.
Right.
Because that's what life is all about.
And that's hard to do for a lot of people.
It's hard. It's hard. How do you decide what's good and what's not?
You get down on yourself for those things,
and then you get really angry, and then you have this like never-ending yo-yo cycling of like, I'm gonna do really well, and then I'm not, and then blah blah blah, and that's where like, I'm sure you've seen me talk about like the dimmer switch mentality a lot.
Yep.
Like we talk about the dimmer switch all the time. And for those that don't know what the dimmer switch analogy is, I think I actually got this from Mike Dola, the founder of Stronger You. Like with our health and fitness, like we need to act like a dimmer switch, not a light switch. Where people end up being in the most trouble and the most frustration and feeling like they're stuck all the time is whenever they act like a light switch. They're either on or they're off. And, so when they're on, they're, working out 5 days a week, they're eating super clean, they're avoiding alcohol, they're doing all the things that they need to do. But that's not super sustainable for the everyday person unless you're a professional athlete, which we're not. And so they do that for 21, 30, 42 days, which is why I hate those short-term challenges.
Yep.
And then they get to day 22 or day 31 or day 43, and they're like, hello, Papa John's. Yes, send over all the pizzas.
That's exactly right.
And then they turn off, and they just then they no longer have the sustainable thing.
Yeah.
They go a few months, and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like trash again. Let me do another short-term challenge.
Right.
And it's terrible. And so what we want to try and do is do a dimmer switch mentality to where you're always on. Right? But you get to control the brightness.
How much on you are.
How much on are you going to do, right? Are you going to be 100% on? Are you going to be 80? Are you going to go down to 20? Are you going to dim the lights a lot because you're going through a super stressful time in your life and you don't want to cook dinners, you want to order meals in? That's cool.
That's totally fine.
But let's
be okay with that.
Let's be okay with that. And let's make sure that we're still on and that we are still trying our best to continue to move through this almost like a minimal acceptable output.
Right.
So that way we can still be fit, or at least trying to be fit.
How does that look like in your nutrition coaching and Rachel's nutrition coaching? Because I've been through nutrition coaching as well.
Sure.
And it was almost like I felt like I had to be on all the time. It was like, dude, I'm paying this much for nutrition. I got sick results, really good.
Sure.
Some of the best stuff, but once I stopped it, bro, it was off.
Yeah.
How does that look like to manage that, like from a coach to client standpoint?
So I think talking about expectations is super important, and expectations are super important to talk about in all of your life, and how I think everyone should have a little bit lower expectations, but that's a different podcast. With nutrition, we really want to know, what are you trying to do here?
Right.
Right? Because if you want to get sick results, if you want, at one point I lost 63 pounds.
Right.
Sick results. But what I was doing wasn't sustainable. And
Same.
And that's okay because I wanted sick results. Right. I was a kidless gym owner who had time and energy to just do that. Right. But nowadays, if you told me, hey, you need to drop, 30 pounds to get back to where you were, I'd be like, why don't you go to hell?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that.
And I continually had that fight with myself, especially last year. I was like,
shoot, man,
I'm not in the best shape. In January, I'm going to do a challenge. And then I told myself, I was like, why?
Don't.
Why? That wouldn't make me happy. When we had our second child, who's now 4.5, I went through that nutrition coaching, and it was a challenge, got the best results of my life. My wife didn't like me then.
Yeah, because I'm sure you were hangry, and
I was hangry.
You were
I was prepping meals. I was taking too long to prep meals. I was weighing grams of rice.
And you probably weren't super fun whenever you went out. You would
Dude,
say,
I didn't go out.
We're not going to go out.
I didn't go out. No.
And so really, what we try to do, and Rachel and her team do such a great job of establishing those expectations from the very beginning of what are you trying to accomplish with this?
Right.
Rachel and I both have education degrees, and what we really try to do is we like to take the process of, we're going to educate you so much that we're going to make ourselves obsolete.
Sick.
And we're going to try to give you so much information that you can do this on your own.
Doesn't that feel like they might not need you? And then how does that
Totally.
play? So then
Because we are humans and we need accountability.
Right.
We need someone to talk to. We need someone to check into. I'm working with one of Rachel's coaches right now, Brittany,
Nice.
Because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know how to do it.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what to do.
Yeah, I see food, and sometimes I look at it in protein, whatever,
I
vegetables.
know how to do everything.
Right.
But I need the accountability.
Right.
I need someone I need a coach.
Clark, I know how to work out.
I know you do.
I know how to work out.
You literally have probably taught thousands of people how to work out.
I've taught many people how to work out.
But now you pay to work out.
That's exactly right. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself.
No, and it's just it's one of the silliest things in the world to think that you don't need a coach. I mean, we all have, we know what we should be doing with our finances.
Right.
But we get financial advisors. We learn from other people who have done more than us.
Exactly.
We know, we all pretty much know how to do a lot of things, but you have a guy for that, or you have a lady for that. You have people who can help you, because you need that accountability to get those things done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so big on having a coach and having a mentor, because it's It's how you get to where you want to be faster.
The speed of which.
Speed.
How did you get to where you're at right now? Like, when did you start this business? And
a lot of drugs, Mark. A lot of drugs. No drugs.
That was the aha moment. Was that one time in Cabo where
no drugs. So we started Yellow Rose in November of 2016. In
6-year anniversary coming up soon.
Well, it already happened.
But we're celebrating.
We're celebrating at casino night. It's going to be super fun.
Nice.
I started mopping the floors of an Anytime Fitness in Friendswood, Texas in 2007 or 8 in exchange for a membership, and then worked my way up in that during high school to where I started training people, doing some personal training and doing some sales and some marketing and whatnot while I was still like a senior in high school, which is pretty cool. Then it turned out that the owner of that gym was opening up another gym in the Heights, and I was going to U of H, University of Houston, wasn't that far away, so I was moonlighting as a personal trainer. I was doing personal training to pay for school. And then in 2012, my friend Nick Pelletieri told me he saw me doing he saw me doing Jackie in Anytime Fitness, which is 1,000 meter row.
So
50
you were doing
thrusters.
Jackie in like almost like a Globo gym.
I was the guy doing CrossFit in a Globo gym that was me.
Okay.
And my friend Nick Pelletier was like, hey, I work out at this other gym as well, and you should.
First he was like, slow down.
Yeah. He was like,
you're
what
in
are
the
you
wrong
doing?
place. Yeah.
He was like, you need to come check it out. So I went there, did a couple workouts, and I was like, this is awesome. I convinced the guy at Anytime Fitness that we needed to do a CrossFit program.
Oh, cool.
Inside of Anytime Fitness. So he paid for me to get our level 1. It was awesome.
Yes.
Came back and he's like, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to do that. And I was like, oh.
So you have your level 1 now, though.
So I have my level 1.
Okay.
And then I went over to that other gym and I was like, yeah, I want to coach here. And I started coaching there. Oddly enough, that's where I met Rachel.
Ooh, cool.
I was sitting on the bikes with Shannon McGriff, and she walked in and I went, who's that?
Nice.
And that's how I met Rachel.
That's super cool.
It's super cool. Yeah, super cool. And then was there for a couple months, and then another buddy of mine, he was like, hey, I want to start a gym. I want you to run it. And I was like, oh, crap. Well, I'm about to graduate with this music education degree, and it turns out that I don't want to teach music.
Yeah.
I want to teach fitness.
What timing?
It was pretty much perfect timing.
Yeah.
And so we started that gym in 2014.
That was the exact
February of 2014.
So you're telling almost my exact timeline.
I mean, it's kind of like every gym owner's story,
yeah,
right?
It's
Every
like,
gym
hey,
owner's timeline.
come run my gym.
Yep.
I didn't have really much experience coaching, but he was like, hey, run the gym. And it was July of 2013 that we started, so like not far apart.
So, I mean, I had a ton of experience teaching. Maybe not exactly coaching, but a ton of experience teaching. Because
very relatable.
All through college, I was doing personal training, and I was also teaching private trumpet lessons. I was teaching marching band. Like I was doing a lot of teaching. So like I've flexed my teaching muscles a lot to where I've gotten very, very good at teaching, coaching, speaking in front of a group of people. Like I'm very, very comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. I love it. And so that helped that gym become very successful in a very short amount of time.
Sure.
There were some struggles through there, obviously, between different things with like city stuff and blah 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 and all that stuff. But eventually, it got to the point where I wasn't making the money that I wanted to make, and the boss there, we were butting heads, just wasn't working very well. There was a lot of weirdness going on.
Tell my story, bro. Tell my story. I've been there.
And so we went on our honeymoon to Greece. And on the way back, I had my first ever panic attack.
Okay.
I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to go back to work. Like, I don't want to work there anymore.
Okay.
This is horrible.
Right. But what am I going to do?
But what am I going to do?
How do I do this? What are the next steps?
I can barely make rent right now. Mm-hmm. How do you expect me to start a gym? I have no idea. I had no idea that you always know someone with money. I think that's a secret that people don't tell you is you know a lot of millionaires.
Yeah.
And you have no idea.
You have no idea.
You have no idea, but you know a lot of millionaires.
So the way that people have taught me about that is if I were to tell you that you can buy a Lamborghini right now and it's on sale, fully functional, everything about it, almost brand new, just has 1 mile on it. The person just maybe just wants to get rid of it, $50,000. And you can go 100% sell it on Sunday for $200,000.
Yeah.
could you go get $50,000 somewhere?
100%.
Most people would be able to find it.
Yeah.
I can't say everybody because there are a lot of people who, whatever.
I've got multiple people who I have in my phone as like in a group that are just like, if I need money, like
exactly,
that's why I go to. And obviously, I'm not just going to steal from them.
You're not going to steal
They're
money
going to get paid back with interest. Obviously,
you have to be able to like leverage. That's leverage.
Correct. And so one of my business partners now, Mark, who you know very well, he said one time during a training session, he's like, Clark, if you ever want to do one of these, he was a client. He was like, if you ever want to do one of these, like, just let me know.
Nice.
Just let me know. And I was like, oh, okay, man, like, that's kind of weird. Like, I really love it here. Like, I don't know why you'd tell me that because that would never happen. I'm going to stay here the rest of my life.
Sure.
But, cool. I'll tuck that away. Sure enough, came in there, was working for like a week, and I was like, this sucks. Like, I need to get out of here. And called him up for lunch, which was really weird because we never hung out. But we went to Liberty Kitchen at Studewood and 11th. And before I even sat down, he said, so you want to start a gym, huh?
He knew what was up.
He knew
you called me into lunch. I know why.
He knew immediately. And I was like, yeah, man, I really do want to start a gym.
Yeah.
And so it was
this is 2016, right?
This is 2016. Mm-hmm. We got married in 2016. We went to Greece on July 4th of 2016. Yeah. I met with Mark in August of 2016. And we, we're just kind of talking back and forth. I had a whole pro forma set up. I had everything. I had all the money. And I told him, I was like, okay, man, I'm going to need, I got really, really nervous. I was like, I'm going to need $60,000. And he was like, that's it?
Don't you need more than that?
He's like, that's all you need? I was like,
here you go.
Yeah, man, I'm really nervous about asking you for that. He's like, done. Cool. He's like, do you mind if I split it with another guy who's also a client at that gym? And I was like,
nice.
No. And boom, there it was.
I love that.
It was me, Mark, and Girish.
I love that.
And then we signed a lease on October 1st. I told the boss in October, and then we started Yellow Rose on November 14th of 2016.
I love that. Yep. Kind of same thing, man. I just reached out to friends, family, all those people who were able to help support the gym, and it was incredible. We had a good startup.
Yeah.
Was able to get a nicer place, which if I were to go back, is this the first place you guys were ever at?
For Yellow Rose?
For Yellow Rose?
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, it's leaps and bounds ahead of what we were in.
I probably would have started a little bit smaller because we ended into a lease that was fine in terms of like size and all that and length, but like the money per month was like, oh gosh, like I'm eating a lot here. I got to grow into this. We're going to eat a loss.
I think it really hit me as far as like, oh, you're a business owner. Whenever I was looking at like a 5-year lease and looking at like the total value of that money, and I'm going,
it's like multiple six figures. You're like, oh gosh.
But then Mark and Girish were like, no, you don't realize like this gym has the capacity to make this money and blah, blah, blah. Like you'll be able to make a living, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Exactly. And then in 5 years, they're not gonna like renew, or like you can option to renew all that kind of stuff. And
we just signed. I mean, at our 5-year mark, we signed another 7-year lease.
Oh, sick.
We're here for a long time.
Good for you.
We're here for a long time.
Good for you guys. So you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Did you always know that you were going to be a bit, or what? Like,
dude, I have a music degree.
So how does this like where does this itch? Because like for me, I'm kind of like the black sheep of my family. There were like tendencies when I was younger, and I was like, I did things differently. I took risks. I got a little bit of trouble. Whereas like what tendencies in younger Clark do you see now that you're like, oh, now I know that he's probably going to own business?
I'm very much a generalist in the sense that like I'm pretty good at a lot of things. Or like I pick up on a lot of things very well, but I'm not the best at anything, if that makes sense. Like people will play golf with me and they're like, wow, you're really good at golf. I'm like, yeah, but I'm trash compared to like the best.
Sure.
Right. Or like in high school, I made all-state band and I made all-state choir, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. It's like, yeah, but I'm trash compared to like these amazing people. And then like, yeah, I was a pretty good baseball player, but I mean, I'm not, I didn't play in the pros like my little brother, and I'm not a professional singer like my sister, and I'm not a professional, web designer, game developer like my brother, but like I'm pretty good at a lot of things. And I think
that's a great outlook.
And I think that's what makes a business owner like good, is that you have to be kind of generally okay at everything, and then you hire people that are better than you at other things.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
I think that's what a lot of people miss out on.
So like I told Lucy the other day, Lucy's our general manager here. I told Lucy, I was like, hey, if it's time specific, like I'm not your guy. Like I'm not a very like, you put a due date on it. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. Right. Like this needs to be done by next week. I'm like, I'll get it done in 2 months. Like, is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have her doing all like the time specific stuff. And like, if it comes down to ordering and inventory and whatnot, like I know how to read cash flow and balance and whatnot, but like the actual ordering aspect of things, like marking stuff off to-do lists,
I'd be way behind
makes
on
me
that.
want to die.
Yeah.
So that's what Chris and Rachel do. But I keep tabs on everything.
Right.
And so like, I'm very much a generalist, and I have people, and there are people here that are just so much better than me in certain things that really make this gym run.
What do you look for in coaches these days? Because you could train everybody to
Good people.
Yeah. What are those characteristics?
I mean, I literally, like I'm wearing a shirt right now that says work hard and be nice. And I want people that are going to work hard and people that are going to be nice.
Yeah.
Because like I think my biggest strength is coaching. I'm a really good coach just because of my years of teaching and my educational background and all that. And so I can help anyone become a good coach. I can help anyone become a tactician, learn how to like, oh, did you see his hips raised up a little bit more in his chest whenever he was trying to do that clean?
Sure.
Or, hey, did you see that they weren't actually like wrapping their thumb on that pull-up bar? And you see how like all these other things, like I can teach people how to learn movement and how to see faults and all that stuff. But like, I can't teach someone how to be a good person.
Exactly.
And I trust every single person that works here. I love every single person that works here. Like they're great.
Yeah.
They're fun. Everyone enjoys coming to their classes, and they all bring a different flavor to classes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're all really hardworking, and they're all so nice.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's important to me. It's like, can you work hard and can you be nice? Boom, you're hired.
I love that.
Like,
I love that. That's not me. I'm not very nice.
No, you're a dick.
I also work very, not hard at all.
Super lazy too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And sure, there are people that have like worked here that haven't worked out, and there are other people that have worked here, and then they'd be like, hey, I'm moving on to other things, and that's awesome, and we love that, and we want to support them and everything. But that's really like it. Can you work hard and can you be nice?
Yeah. We've golfed before, and
We have.
Don't tell yourself you're not good. That's terrible.
No. I'm objectively a good golfer.
In what percentile
But I'm
are
not
you? Like the 2 percentile, bro.
I mean, I'm a scratch golfer.
That's exactly right.
Like you can look it up.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm in the bottom 2%.
It's okay. It's okay.
I have fun. I drink beers, and I get out there on the course, and I enjoy nature.
There you go.
And it's good for my mental health.
That's all that matters.
2 years and a week and a half ago. 2 years and 2 weeks ago, you became a dad.
I did. Yeah.
And
I have twin daughters, Birdie and Lila.
What changed?
Everything. Literally everything. I used to think that I had like a pretty good grasp on things. So like from 2016 to February of 2020, I was like, we are doing it.
Yeah,
like
I remember those were the days.
We are killing it. I am living the dream. I'm coaching 6 classes a day, and in between and in the downtime, like I'm creating content, I'm building out the gym, I'm doing all these things, I'm going to coffee meetings. It's totally fine. And at the end of the night, I get to enjoy, some time with my wife, and everything's perfect. 2020 happened, and COVID happened, and that was like, I worked way harder than I've ever worked in my entire life and made so little money. And it was just an absolute beatdown.
Those are some hard times.
And in the midst of all that, my wife and I were going through like crazy infertility battles, and it was just horrible. So we're going through all these IVF treatments and everything. And then finally, like June or July, it was either June or July of 2020, we find out that our IVF cycle took.
Nice.
And we also find out that it's twins.
Oh gosh.
And on the way home from that appointment, we were just like, what? Twins?
Yeah,
what?
you're like,
and then we saw a double rainbow, and we were like, cool, I guess it's meant to
wow.
be.
Holy
like,
cow.
There we go. Boom. And then in October of 2020, I became an absolute wreck.
In what way?
In the way where like I no longer had, it just became an incredibly insecure person.
Okay.
In everything. I was super confident before, and then 2020 happened, and I was like, cool, good. This is a good challenge. Like,
you were
I'm gonna
pregnant at this
handle it.
time, but was it creeping up on you that like I am about to have kids? And was that part of it?
Yeah, I think the realization throughout 2020 that I'd been working so hard. Cause like I work really, really hard, but I don't work long hours.
Right.
Like I hate the people that try to glorify 12 to 16 hour days. Yep. I think that's absolute
concentrated,
trash.
Focused
and that's like
work.
the worst thing ever. Like I try my best to work like, I don't know. I don't even put hours on it because I think that's silly. I try to do like output goals rather than input goals. Like I'm not trying to work 40 hours a week. I'm trying to get the things done that are important. And so like, but in all reality, in 2020, I was working like 10, 12, 14 hour days. I was getting on calls with people. I was doing anything that I could do to like keep the gym afloat. Like it was pretty dicey there for a little bit. I mean,
those were some tough days. That's where I was like closing up shop.
Yeah. I thought we were going to have to like ask for some funding just to stay open. Like we didn't get any PPP or EIDL funding. So we were like, crap, how are we going to do this? And it got really dicey there. And so I think, we got pregnant and I'm like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be fine. Like we've built this great life. And then October came around and I was like, oh no, like it's never going to be better. Like I'm never going to make enough money to have 2 kids. And like
holy crap. So like
I have some like money trauma.
Yeah. So do, yeah.
I have a very
money
weird
mindset,
weird relationship with money that I'm working through for sure.
Same.
Very, very different now. But like it got to the point where I was an absolute mess. And November of 2020 is the first time that I went to therapy. Like I got a therapist to help out that. And since November of 2020, there hasn't been a month where I haven't gone to therapy at least once. Most of the time I go 2 to 4 times a month.
Good for you.
2 to 4 times a month.
Good for you.
So like right now I'm like, once a week cycle. Sometimes I'm in every
other
2 weeks, but like I go to therapy. And it's
hard, man.
And that's been really awesome to help navigate the expectations that I have for my life.
I can't imagine like going through hard time, really unprecedented times in business in 2020 because of everything that's going on in the world. You're shut down. You have to like social distancing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then on top of that, hey, you're pregnant. Hey, you're pregnant with twins.
Well, I think the hardest part was 2019 was our best year ever.
Ooh. Yeah. So that almost like made it worse.
2019, I'm sitting here going, what do you mean owning a gym is hard? Like,
right.
We got this.
Right.
This is crazy good.
And that's when you opened up Local Cove too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you open up another one.
I was like, this is easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not easy. I just had all the time and energy in the world because I didn't have other people depending on me.
Right.
And then 2020 happened and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like 2020 was probably the best thing that ever happened to us because it really served me a big old slice of humble pie.
Yep.
And we got our babies out of it. Honestly.
We got what?
We got our babies out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the best. I mean, it's so funny. I was so scared about having kids because I was so worried about money and blah, blah, blah. And like, I wish I would have had them sooner. Right. And like, I was already a young dad comparatively. I mean, we had them whenever I was 29. Yeah. And I'm like, why didn't we do this sooner? Because like, they just bring so much joy to my life. So much fun.
When I first had Meyer, I was starting the gym. And there was a lot of, I put a lot of pressure on myself, but at the same time,
the pressure is just nuts. And that's what
it is.
Not to like totally interrupt you like an absolute asshole. But like the pressure that we put on ourselves as like dads and providers and business owners. Cause like, it's not just providing for me and Rachel. I'm also providing for Birdie and Lila. Correct. I'm also providing for all of our team. I'm also providing for all of our members to have this place because I mean, so many people will tell me like having to find a new gym is like going dating again. It is. And it's like the worst.
I always told people there's
pressure. There's so much pressure.
When people were leaving my gym, I was like, hey, I don't want you to sign up on the first time. Don't go to a gym and whatever. No. And just sign up. Date like around. Try 3 different gyms, see which one you like. Try that one. Like when I was having, when Meyer was born, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be a really good dad because the priorities change, right? It's not about you anymore. It's not you have to sacrifice this, and this.
I don't care about me anymore.
Right. It's fully on your kids.
It's not true. I do care about me, but
at the same time, it's like, there's other people in your world who you almost like your members, like all those kinds of people who almost like take a back seat, but you still kind of want to take care of. How did you manage that?
If my dogs could talk, they'd be like, we're second-class citizens in our house.
We suck now.
And that's where my therapist has really helped me like establish my values and then understand that values can shift based on the season of life, based on how you're feeling, but the values are always going to be there. Right. And so like for me, like my values are my family, you know, my relationship with Rachel, my relationship with the girls, and then like my relationship with myself.
Yes.
Because nobody's meaner,
underrated.
Nobody's meaner to me than me.
Oh my gosh.
Like behind a lot of people see me, they're like, oh, you know, you bring so much energy, blah, blah, blah. Well, I tell myself, all the time, I've coached maybe 15,000 plus classes, not even talking about personal training sessions. Like I've never done a perfect session.
No, there's no such thing. And
no such thing.
One of the biggest things in terms of just from when I was 25 all the way up until now, probably even sooner than that, is that things change.
Things
all
change
the time.
and things
but like
shift.
It's like how you view things. It's like maybe like it's okay to go through transition. And I almost see sometimes I used to have this pressure on myself when I would go through transition, when I would change, when I left the gym and went to online coaching. It was like
I see it as a form of
people
weakness.
are like, oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like it's weakness. I feel like, oh, I can't handle that. That makes me a lesser
So I need
person.
to change, right?
So or that makes me trash. That makes me garbage.
Right.
I mean, like that's not the case. Like there's this rhythm of existence, these seasons of our lives where like things are going to change and things are going to change big time. So like now I have 4 hours of energy. I don't even call it like time.
No.
I have 4 hours of energy to give to work. I have 4 hours of output to give to work because I don't want to give all my energy to work because then I can't give anything to my kids.
Correct. Right.
And also I can't give anything to my wife.
Right.
And I can't give anything to my friends. I can't give anything to like the people that I really care about because work is just work. Like I love this place so much. It's all I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
For now. Right. Things can change.
Right.
But like
it's also work.
It's work.
It's work.
It's still work. And like, I freaking love it.
Right.
And it is something where like a lot of times I don't even feel like it's work.
And I had pressure on myself.
Like, it's so much fun.
I had pressure on myself as a gym owner because I hated the way that I thought that the way people viewed me as like, hey, you're the gym owner. You better be going all out, bro. Like this better be everything. And then when I had kids or even 2 kids, I was like, hey, I'm going to give 80% or even 75% of what I did.
It comes back to those expectations.
Exactly.
Like we have these expectations of ourselves that like we can't live up to. It's so funny. I remember one time Tim Ferriss was talking about, I don't really like Tim Ferriss, but I remember this quote. It was really funny. He's like, why are the Dutch so happy all the time? And he talked to some Dutchman and he goes, low expectations.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So like so I tell myself I have high standards, but I have low expectations, or at least I'm trying to. And because it's the expectations that really like fuel our anger or our frustration or our like general misery, where if we keep the expectations low, like Rachel and I have a saying, we text each other LAEF whenever we're feeling stress, and it's low ass expectations forever.
Yeah.
Because like, just keep the expectations low.
Love
like
that.
Every night with your kids aren't going to be amazing. There's going to be nights where they're freaking frustrated and angry and they're screaming and they're emotionally dysregulated and you're like, what the hell? And then if you remember low ass expectations forever, you know, like, oh, this is just one of those days. It's not a big deal. And so I'm keeping my low ass expectations forever, but I'm keeping my standards high because like, whenever I do the work is going to be done well.
Those are 2 different things.
Very different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Expectations and standards are totally different.
Yes.
And so like, I don't have this figured out by any means whatsoever. This is very much a work in progress.
Sure.
For like trying to keep my expectations to the point where my disappointment doesn't trigger like a bunch of anger. And,
that's big.
Like nastiness from me.
Because that leads to burnout.
Yep.
Big time.
Yep. And what has helped me more than anything with that is having a coach and having mentors who can, and having a therapist who can help me. And, you know, it's not just my therapist. Like, it's my business mentors, it's my partners, it's my coaches. Like, it's people who can help me get out of my own way, just like what we do at Yellow Rose. We help people get out of their own way. Oh, full circle right here, baby.
It's me too.
It's you. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. But it's having people in my life who I pay to help me get out of my own way and help me be the best version of myself through whatever means necessary. Like some people work really well with high expectations and high standards. I'm not that person.
Well, that's voting with your dollars. That's putting your money where you think or where you know is the highest leverage.
Absolutely.
Rather than the quick fixes, rather than, those kinds of things.
Or the other worst thing ever is like I hate the word hope. Like whenever I'm talking with clients and with members and everything, I was like, well, I hope I do better next week. No, don't hope, do.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do about it? Right. Like you hope that you're better than what you did this week. Okay. Well, what happened this week? Well, I fell into blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Let's figure out a plan so that way that doesn't happen again.
Sure.
Right. Like getting rid of this whole like hope mentality.
Sure.
And this the word hope just drives me up the wall. It's like, what are we going to do about it? Yeah. And for me, what I have to do in order to be my best version of myself is have mentors, have coaches, have my therapist who are going to help me.
Have people around you, surround yourself.
Be my best.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you want to pass down to your girls, and what do you want to not pass down to your girls?
I want to pass them down like the work ethic that I have, because I work really, really hard, but I also want to help them establish a really, really nice balance with their life, so that way they don't feel like their work or their successes or their failures define them.
Oh, I love that.
Because I find that I put a lot of my self-worth on what I accomplish. Same. And that is a recipe for
and if you don't accomplish
feeling in
something,
your head all day long and just feeling like trash. And so like
exactly.
I love how hard I work. It's one of my best qualities. Like if you tell me something needs to happen, or in fact, if you tell me something can't happen, that's whenever I'm going to make sure it happens. Like whenever people didn't want to invest in Yellow Rose, like I did actually, my story is I actually asked a few other people to invest in Yellow Rose before Mark and Garrison. They said no, they didn't feel like it was a good investment. And I was like, okay, screw you. But like, that didn't mean I was a bad person.
Right.
It just meant like they weren't comfortable with it.
Correct.
And just because I don't accomplish my to-do list today doesn't mean I'm a bad person or I'm a bad business owner.
Right.
It just means I didn't get it done today, and that's okay.
Right.
And so I want to instill a work ethic and a purpose, or like helping them find their purpose and establish their purpose, but also realizing that there's more to life than work. There's more to life than getting things done. Like, enjoy it. And I think that I'm finally, now that they're close to 2 years old, I'm finally feeling like I'm okay with putting my phone on airplane mode.
100%.
And being like, you know what?
Well, that's just having good boundaries.
This time from 4:30 to 7,
I'm not going to answer anybody.
With my kids.
Yeah, and people should know that.
If the gym's on fire, you shouldn't be calling me anyway.
Yeah.
If someone has died in the gym, you shouldn't be calling me anyway.
Don't worry about it. Much less, hey,
you need to call 911.
Much less, hey, how do you scale the double unders today, right?
And luckily, like we have our coaching systems in place.
They know how to do
like,
that.
Yeah, and like if anyone has questions about like, hey, what do you really mean on this workout? Like we ask that well in advance, and I send out a breakdown. And like, there's a reason why people say, oh, it doesn't matter what class I come to. Like the coaches are like, the classes are all awesome. Like we put a lot of work in the front end, so that way the product and the experience is really good. But yeah, I just really want to help my girls love life and not feel stressed about things that don't matter.
Last thing I want to talk about is, we mentioned it earlier, but money mindset, and that's something that I want to almost break the cycle of for my kids as well. My parents are pretty frugal, very middle class whenever we were growing up, and but there was a lot of personal worth that was put into someone based on how much money they made.
Yeah.
There was dollar figures attached to these things.
To everything.
There was my mom's a big saver, she shops at like Big Lots and stuff like that and buys things that are ultra on sale. It's stuff she doesn't need. So she's very like irresponsible with money. But my dad is very old school. Like he invests in like just stocks, and that's it.
Right.
And I am like, I'm not anti-stocks. I actually, I don't, but it's not as large of a pie piece as his, I like to diversify. And so the money mindset is like things that like I say, it's like the way that we talk about money, the way we talk about, like all that kind of stuff. Like my wife used to describe different couples as, oh, they're very new money. And I was like, I think I know exactly what you mean. Like they're they're lavish. They're like, but they really don't have enough to like cover it. And I'm like, that's just irresponsible. You know? Talk about like the ways that you're working through, like how to reframe money in your mind.
So like my parents did an awesome job of like teaching me the value of money, but I think almost over teaching me to the point of like scaring me away from spending money.
Gotcha.
To the point where now it's kind of like whenever you keep the kid from partying and then they go to college and they party really hard.
That's where I was.
Yeah. And so it's like now if I want something, like I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Like whenever they ask me for a Christmas list, I'm like, I already bought everything that I want.
I got it.
It's fine. And so what I'm trying to work through is like, I really like, there's certain schools of thought with investing in, like, I know that as an entrepreneur, like I'm my best investment.
Correct.
So like I spent a lot of money last year on
education
and education and everything. Mentorship. And I've made that back, 3-4x already.
Love that.
Just from that. And it's something that you can't really see on a graph, because how do you really define the value of mentorship and coaching and whatnot? But like, I know that things are getting better. The more I invest in myself, the better my life gets.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a lot of times whenever like, oh, that's really expensive, and like, oh, we can't afford that, or oh, that's too much money. Whereas I look at things now and I go, how can I afford that?
I love that.
Or how am I going to make more money so I can afford that? And there's a couple people that I really like their philosophy on stuff. Like I really like Ramit Sethi.
I love Ramit.
I like Ramit Sethi a lot. He talks about like there's no limit on what you can earn, but there's definitely a limit on how much you can cut.
Right.
And like my parents were they're very frugal. They like, which worked really, really well for them.
Sure.
Like they needed to. They were in debt up to their eyeballs, and then they cut they cut unnecessary spending to the point where like now they're able to retire and feel good, and like that worked really, really well for them. But it doesn't really vibe with me.
Right.
So
same.
I really like Ramit Sethi, and I really like Bill Perkins. He actually is an energy trader here in Houston, and he wrote the book Die with Zero, and it's a book about how you don't want to lose out on opportunities in your life while you still have your youth, just because of some money.
Exactly.
And so like, what's the point of dying with a huge amount of money if you can't even use it?
Right. Exactly.
So like book the trip.
Book the trip.
Book
Enjoy
the vacation.
Life. You only got one life. You're gonna die.
Go to the expensive dinner.
Yeah.
Do the things like, you can always make more money.
You can
like
always
if you
make
put a gun
money.
to my head and said, hey, by next week you need to make $10,000, I've got
Fine.
that.
You got this.
I've got
right.
it. I might do some questionable things, but I'll make $10,000.
Whoa,
like I'll make $10,000.
Yeah,
You don't have to worry
a
about
lot of people
that.
don't have or struggle with that. They just don't know how.
And so I want to try and like if we're going to bring it back to the kids, like I want to try and foster an appreciation that money is a tool to live a really good life. But I don't want to be afraid of spending or like any of the other things that like I struggle with. Like I tell Rachel all the time, whenever she says budget, I like get hives. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to think about a budget.
Yeah. One of the things that my dad said about other people, and my dad's from the Philippines. He doesn't he's got a different language than other people, but he said that people have he would identify people as that person has deep pockets.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I want deep pockets.
To the point to where it's like, I don't have deep pockets, or you don't have deep pockets. So it's almost like a I feel less than to that person.
Yeah, and
you know
almost like you vilify them for having deep pockets.
Exactly.
Like,
and so that's one thing that I don't want to pass down to my kids. It's like, hey, I want to talk about, like you said, not we can't afford, but how do I afford that?
Yeah, and I think that it's worth saying that like our parents did a great job raising us.
100%.
Right?
Oh yeah, I don't blame them for anything. No,
it's our jobs to be even better.
Even better. Yeah. How
it's
can
our
we
jobs to be even better? And
take the big things that they gave us.
Just like it's Birdie and Lila's jobs, if they choose to have kids, to be even better than Rachel and I.
That's exactly right.
Like every generation is just trying to get better.
That's exactly right.
And so sure, there were some things that I don't necessarily agree with anymore, and that's cool.
That's cool. Yep, that's exactly right. I was gonna wrap this up by saying that, like, hey, how do people you invest in coaching, mentorship, education, all that kind of stuff, and people are like, I wouldn't be able to afford that. But we talked earlier, there's a lot of people who have money. Remember, there are people who have money that you could go out and get it. And remember that coaching, mentorship has anywhere from $2,000 to 5 million x'd
anybody.
anybody.
There's so many different ways that you can afford it to where it's
100%.
not expensive. I mean, like
Exactly.
I look at anything I spend like on an hourly basis.
Yep.
Like if I charge $150 an hour to train with me, and so if I look at something and I go, oh, that's more than $150 an hour, like okay, that's one training session.
Exactly.
Or like, oh, that's only $75. I can afford that because that's like 2 training sessions, sort of thing.
Exactly.
And so that's how I look at things. And I tell a lot of people, when you find the value of your time, you can absolutely make sure that things are a lot cheaper. Like a $200 a month gym membership, which is like what Yellow Rose is.
Right.
You know, if you look at the average fast food meal, you're looking at like $12.
Right.
That takes you 20 minutes to eat. So in all reality, that's 12, 24, that's $36 an hour for one fast food meal. The average class here, if you're coming like 16 times a month, you're looking at like $12 to $15
Yep.
an hour class.
Yep.
Like you can afford that.
It's totally
It
fine.
really just comes down to like, is that what you want?
I eat the meal in 5 minutes, Clark.
Right,
Maybe
so
even
you're
2.
hourly.
Maybe even 2. So it's a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly.
Clark, where can people find you?
You can find me at yellowrosefitness.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Clark Hibbs, super original. If you have any questions about Yellow Rose, about coaching, about anything, or you just want to drop a line, Clark at yellowrosefitness.com. And yeah, I would love to chat with anyone. If you're, it doesn't matter if you live in Houston or not. Like if you're interested in learning more about our nutrition program or like our online coaching, shoot me an email, go to the website, yellowrosefitness.com, and we can help you out. I mean, Yellow Rose is truly like a global company now. We have clients in Australia,
Yes.
in Singapore, in Japan, in Germany, and all over the country. Like we're a global company. So it doesn't matter where you are, we can help you.
Sick, dude.
Yep.
Clark, lots of love. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
We'll run it back.
We'll run it back.
See you.
See you.